Investors, welcome to Stock AI Insights. This is earnings analysis, and I'm your chief AI analyst. Just a quick reminder, this is for educational purposes only and is not investment advice. All investments carry risk. Today, we are breaking down SoftBank Group's Q2 fiscal year 2025 earnings, released on November 11th. And let me tell you, there is one single number in this report that changes absolutely everything. And that number is 2.9 trillion yen. Let that sink in for a moment. That's SoftBank's net income for just the first half of the fiscal year. It's a figure so massive, it doesn't just break records. It completely redraws the map of the company's finances. This is the whole story right here, and we're going to unpack exactly how they pulled it off. But okay, before we get completely lost in that incredibly profit figure, we have to start with the foundation of the business, right? We need to look at its core revenue. Because a healthy top line is what gives a company the stability to make big moves. And as we're about to see, SoftBank is definitely on solid ground. Look at this chart. For the first half of the year, their consolidated net sales climbed a very healthy 7.7% year over year, hitting over 3.7 trillion yen. This shows that their day-to-day operations are growing steadily, which provides a really stable platform for some of the more dramatic things we'll see on the income statement. And this growth didn't just come out of nowhere. It was really anchored by the strong performance of their key business units. We're talking specifically about their domestic telecom segment and, of course, the increasingly crucial ARM chip design segment. Those were the engines really driving this top-line expansion. All right, now for the main event. Let's turn to the profit story, which really acts as the fulcrum for SoftBank's entire strategy right now. And this isn't a story about slow, steady gains. Oh no, this is about one single investment that completely changed the game. Look at this chart. It really puts the scale of this profit into perspective. That 2.9 trillion yen bar for the first half doesn't just set a new record, it completely dwarfs every other H1 period in the company's history. I mean, it's not even close. It's a massive, historic outlier. So where on earth did this mountain of profit come from? Well, the company's own filings make it crystal clear. It wasn't from selling more phone plans or designing more chips. The overwhelming driver was a massive gain on their investments, which totaled nearly 4 trillion yen in the first half alone. And that investment gain was like a geyser erupting from a single source. In the second quarter, SoftBank recorded an absolutely staggering $14.6 billion fair value gain, and it came directly from its investment in OpenAI. That one position was responsible for the lion's share of this historic result. Now, whenever you see a gain this big, especially one that's mostly a paper gain from a valuation increase, it naturally raises some questions. Is this a bubble, or is SoftBank actually on solid financial ground? Well, let's do a quick health check and take a look at their balance sheet. First up, their net asset value, or NAV, which is really the core measure of the company's total underlying worth. It now stands at an impressive 33.3 trillion yen. That's up nearly a trillion yen just from the last quarter, driven, of course, by that huge jump in OpenAI's value. Okay, what about debt? Their loan-to-value ratio, which basically measures their debt against the value of what they own, is sitting at a very healthy 16.5%. This is way below their own target of 25%, so it tells us their debt is at a very, very manageable level. And finally, cash. SoftBank is holding a substantial cash position of 4.2 trillion yen. This confirms they're not just rich on paper, they have significant liquidity and the financial flexibility to go out and execute on their big, ambitious plans. So with a record profit in the bank and a really stable financial base, how is SoftBank planning to use all this momentum? Let's dive into their guidance and their future plans to see how they're putting all this leverage into motion. First, let's look at the guidance for their crown jewel, ARM Holdings. As you can see on the chart, it is exceptionally strong. They're forecasting revenue of around $1.225 billion for Q3. That's about 25% year-over-year growth. It just points to the continued red-hot demand for its chip designs, especially in the booming AI sector. And this brings us to the most crucial point. SoftBank is doubling down. They're taking the massive gains from one huge AI bet and using them to build an entire AI ecosystem. We're talking a planned $34.7 billion follow-on investment in OpenAI. They're acquiring ABB's robotics business to create what they're calling physical AI, basically AI you can touch, And they're co-investing in the Stargate project to build the massive infrastructure that OpenAI needs to get to the next level. So what's the verdict? This earnings report was defined by a truly historic profit, fueled almost entirely by a single, massive, and incredibly successful bet on OpenAI. Now, SoftBank is using that win to go even deeper, concentrating its immense financial power on building a future centered on AI, robotics, and all the infrastructure that holds it together. And all this leaves us with one critical question. Is concentrating billions of dollars and the fate of the company on a single, all-encompassing AI thesis a strategic masterstroke? Or is it the biggest gamble in corporate history? Drop a 1 in the comments with your thoughts. We'll see you next earnings.